Hey guys, I want to talk to you today about manifesting. It's something that I use in my life every day and it works. And my life is a testimony to it. I have many years of experiences. Betty wants to be heard too. You want to come here, Betty? She's yawning and talking. All right. She doesn't know who I'm talking to. This is Betty. So, anyhow. I learned about manifesting when I was pretty young. I read a book called Believe It and You'll See It, and it talked about visualizing things before they happen and believing they'll happen and things such as that. I worked in the casino. I started working in the casino when I was 20 years old, right before I turned 21. And I worked there for 7 years. And then one day, one of my coworkers in the break room came in and told me about this movie called The Secret. And when I watched it, it changed my life. Seriously, it just really gave me a glimpse into things that I needed to see and other people's testimonies. It shows so many people, the author from Chicken Soup for the Soul, that the guy manifested all his money. He wrote a check for $100,000 when he was making 8,000 a year beforehand, and that next year he made 90 something thousand, and then he did it for $1 million, and he got $1 million. People healed themselves from cancer on there. People that were told they would never walk again walked again. And so for me, my dad died when he was 14, and I read a book called Embraced by the Light that really changed my life and let me know that everything was going to be okay. Whatever our choices are in life and whatever we do, God loves us. So once I saw The Secret, I started to put things to the test about creating my own reality and speaking the reality that I wanted and seeing if I took the steps, if the universe would give me what I dreamed of and what I imagined, and it has. Okay, we had to take a pause because Betty was telling me that she had to go potty. So we went outside and I watered the garden down and she played in the hose. Now Rooster wants to cuddle. I just drank my cayenne pepper, which has been a miracle thing in my life. I'll talk about later. So, excuse me if I get sidetracked, and I put together things in my head before I say them out loud, and I also get nervous on the video, so sometimes I forget what I'm saying or I try to keep track, but bear with me. I was working at the casino, and I had worked there from the time I was 20 until I was 27, and it was almost time for me to renew my license. And I was very successful. I had a 3-bedroom house, 2-car garage on a quarter of an acre with a pool, and it was backed up to a green belt. I had 3 dogs there and made between 40 and 50,000 a year roughly. But I wasn't happy. It was sucking the life out of me, and I needed a change. And so once I had seen The Secret, and one thing I wanted to say about The Secret as well is some of the people, I put words together too. Some of the people that speak on The Secret are metaphysicists, and they also talk on this show that's called What the Bleep Do We Know? And some of those people are from a spiritual school of enlightenment that's located in Washington, and it was recorded in Portland and Beaverton area, I believe, over on the east side. So a lot of movies that I've watched have influenced my decisions in life. They haven't just been irrational thoughts with Betty is getting jealous of Rooster, so I might have to have them both go. I'm not sure. Okay, no, we're not gonna do that. She's all wet too. So I started making all types of decisions and leaps of faith. And when I started doing it, it was a little messy and unplanned. And I just thought, sink or swim. I'm going to jump into the universe and I'm going to put my all into it. And if this works, then it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. So it's either one way or the other. And they had different tests they had ran on athletes where they hooked them up to a machine where they imagined themselves completing a sport. And Rooster is cleaning Betty there, so distracting. I'm sorry, but they help keep me more relaxed than being nervous for the video. And anyhow, when they did the sport and when they imagined doing the sport and they had things hooked up to their head that, saw what muscles fired, it was exactly the same in their imagination and in real life. So if you can imagine something and see it, you can create it. And your words create. They are very powerful. Negative or positive, what words you put out there does create your reality. And so it might seem crazy, but speaking and saying that you want something is creating that always having a want. And it's not in the present tense. So you need to say, I'm thankful that I have this, and to believe it. And then it will start creating it if you take the steps, and things will appear. It's like magic. It seriously is. Once you decide on something, like the guy said on there, the biggest thing is people don't decide, or they always have doubts of why it's not going to work or what's not going to work out. And there's a trillion reasons why. And I know some people, when I talk to them about ideas, they want to tell me all the reasons it's not going to work out. And the thing is the universe is magic, and we are created from love, and there's love all over the universe, and we are human beings, light beings, and there's light everywhere in the universe, and there's people from all walks of life from the creator that are angels walking among us on this earth. Betty, no. Hold on one second. Okay, I had to go put Betty out because she was sitting there whining in my ear, and I can't focus with that. Kids are so distracting. It's like they want to sleep all day until you get on the phone or want to talk to somebody, and then they want all of your attention all of a sudden, and you're the most popular person around, and they're jealous of each other. So, anyway. So I quit my job at the casino. I decided not to sign my dealer's license that was renewing. I told them I didn't want to work for the company anymore. And I had a very supportive boyfriend at the time, thankfully. I started working different jobs. I worked at a daycare, which was very hard work, working with pre-kindergartners. And one girl was like jumping on the table and running around the table and had bitten the teacher and all this stuff. I tried taking her under my wing, but it was a lot of work, sweeping and mopping the whole daycare every day. I worked at a gas station for minimum wage. I worked at Sherry's cleaning the bathrooms and carrying so many pies back and forth that it was very hard. And most of those servers never tipped you out. They might give me $1 or $2. So I was used to making a ton of money every night to going down to just making minimum wage. So it was messy and it was hard, and I hadn't planned everything out, but I knew that I didn't want to be at the casino anymore. And so I did that for a bit, but then I ended up going to a different casino for a couple of years. And then I read this book called Happiness is a Choice. And they have an Option Institute over by the Massachusetts Connecticut border, and they work with autistic people. My brother has autism, and that's really near to my heart, so I wanted to go there and volunteer. I ended up, my lease was renewing, and the guy I was renting from said he wanted to rent out to his sister and he didn't want to renew my lease. So I put my notice in at my job and decided that I was going to put my faith in the universe and go for it. I put an ad online, and this really nice girl watched my dogs while I went, and it was not what I expected at all. I worked 40 hours in the kitchen, and I left the first chance I got out of there. Thank goodness one of my friends helped me to take a cab out of there, like an hour and a half out of there. It kind of seemed like a cult. It was not for me at all. But it was something that started me leaving my daily routine and putting my faith into the universe. And so I came back and worked at a poker club for a while, which I loved. It was a phenomenal experience, honestly. It's, something that was epic in my life. And it was a beautiful club. The owner, he passed away, but he had a beautiful club. Purple tables, everything was just lined up. He had dinner that he served. He would fill the place, and we all had fun, and he loved everybody. And I love him very much. And John, I miss you very much. And I thank you for those times. Definitely. My friend Calvin that hired me there too passed on as well. So I worked there for a little bit, and then my friend asked me if I wanted to go with her to take her nephew to New Mexico. And someone I used to work with lived in Arizona, so we went for a road trip, and it was awesome. We went through Utah and visited some of her friends and earned some money on the way cleaning their house. And then we went to New Mexico. We came to Arizona. There's so much sun, so many pigeons. It was awesome. All right, let me back up. I got a side story about it. So the girl that we went to visit, her and I had seen The Secret at the same time. I introduced her to it, and she could barely keep quiet watching the whole movie. Like, she was so excited, like, oh my gosh, and we had to keep pausing it and all this stuff. And so she totally lived her life that way as well, and was just thrilled about it. And she drew a picture of her and I in a swimming pool in Arizona with the sun above us, and it's like living the best life, manifesting it. And she lived in Washington at the time, and she really wanted to go. She was fixing up her RV. We went and spoke to one of my friends that bought one of her vans, and she took her other van down to Arizona. So when I went to Arizona, it was everything that she had talked about and more. It was like, oh my gosh. She was working at the casino making bank. And she told me, imagine you're going to be working here. Every time I would drive with her to work, she just said, visualize yourself driving to work here. You're going to be working here. This is going to happen. So we started doing that. I applied and I got the job. So I flew back to Washington. I had a 64 Impala that I sold. And I had another car. It was a Subaru. I sold that. And I had some cash left over, and I got a 4Runner, and I got my dogs and my cat, and I drove back down there and got an apartment sit down. So it was just like the universe was manifesting everything that we were speaking about and dreaming about, and the stuff that we spoke about. It was happening. And I had wanted to have a child, and soon after I had moved, I realized I was pregnant. And so I was only able to work at the casino for a short time because I had major complications with my pregnancy. I had no amniotic fluids. I had been told before that I wasn't able to have children and I probably wouldn't be able to. And I had tried with an ex. I even got those ovulation kits to see what was the best time to try. And I just love children. I always wanted a child since I was 12 years old. I just wanted somebody to love me completely and just be with me all the time and just love me. I just felt alone as a child a lot of times. I always yearned for my dad and a lot of times would imagine him coming to see me and felt abandoned by him, and I just wanted a child. So once I had my child growing inside of me, and they wanted to take him out early in Arizona as soon as he was viable at 22 weeks. They told me that they wanted to take him out and he would have died, I believe. And they told me not to travel. Well, I follow my heart at all times, and I follow my intuition and the guidance from the universe. So I decided that, and one of my dogs was sick as well. I didn't know this at the time, but he had cancer. He was getting really sick, and so I wanted to go home and be with my family. I was told that I might die from giving birth with this whole thing because my placenta was growing down underneath my uterus, and if that comes out first, women bleed to death, and it's one cause that causes women to die, even if they're healthy women. It causes death, and also it was just a very dangerous pregnancy. So they didn't want me traveling, and they wanted me on bed rest. I was taking baths all the time, laying in water, trying to get the water to, give Evan support because he couldn't move around in there. He was very cramped around. So, my ex drove me back up to Washington, and the day that we got back, we went grocery shopping, and we were so hungry after grocery shopping. We went and picked up a pizza, and as we were pulling out, we were rear-ended. So I was very worried about the baby, and we went to the hospital. They said the baby was stressed and that they wanted to hospitalize me until he was born. And I think I was at 25 weeks at the time, and they wanted to keep him in as long as they could. They said every day counted longer. It meant more because every moment he was in there, he was growing more and more, and it was good. It was better for him to be in there than out. So I really liked that better than Arizona, wanting to just take him out and he could die. They told me that all the worst case scenarios. They came in, he can be deaf, he can be dumb, he can be blind, he can be like a fish out of water. When he is born, his lungs are not developed. Even though they look like lungs, they're not going to function properly, and he's probably going to be born dead, all these things. And I just try to keep my faith and just say, I believe, this child's going to be born and he's going to be healthy. I don't know if the zoom is out on this. It looks blurry. I'm trying to prop my phone on my bed against my drum. So I need something better to hold it up. And I can't see very well. I need to get glasses. But anyway, my son is a miracle, and he's something that I spoke into existence, that I wished for and I prayed for. And when I asked, am I pregnant? I got goosebumps all over my body, and I just knew it at that time. He's such a gift and a joy. I can't believe that it happened, and I was able to manifest him. And then, I know this, I'm just rambling on now, sorry, but oh yeah. So anyways, he's just such a sweet soul, and I'm just very thankful for him. very thankful that I made it. When I arrived in Portland, they told me that I could die from the surgery still. And just, doctors are supposed to do that, but sometimes it's just really a downer. They're telling you all these things, and you're trying to deal with it, being bedridden and getting poked all times of the night, getting your blood drawn, and then all your family members just petrified and having fear, thinking that you are going to die and that you're going to have to just give this child to the family and not even be able to be with it and have to like sacrifice my life. I thought, I don't know what was going to happen. So anyways, I'm just so thankful that he was born. And that's another testimony right there. Just the amazing things that God and the universe and our creator, whatever you want to call it. I'm not religious, I'm spiritual. And so I don't know what everybody wants to say it is, but it's energy or whatever it is, like attracts like. That's what I was going to say about manifesting is that it's the laws of attraction, and like attracts like. So the more that you put energy towards stuff, the more you attract it to you, and it's negative stuff alike. So if you focus on a lot of negative things and bad things, it's going to keep attracting more things. So you have to be careful of your thoughts and the things that you speak about. When Evan was almost 1 year old, we went on a journey. And I had always wanted to go to Hawaii. I imagined it like an island where I could just go and be and rest and not have to be in the fast pace. Just be in the slow pace lane, just out there relaxing, just having a good time. So I put it in the universe that I wanted to go to Hawaii, and I said I'm going to go to Hawaii and I'm going to live there. And things just started manifesting and unwrapping and happening that caused us to be able to go. My ex and I went down to Arizona and saw the girl that I previously was saying that manifested being down there. And she sold us a van that we drove back to Washington. We ended up breaking down in front of the welfare office, applying for food stamps, and our fuel pump went out and it started snowing. And I was like, I remember wearing slippers and walking in the snow and pushing Evan in the stroller, covering him up in the snow, and just being like, oh my gosh, like what is happening in my life right now? And it was crazy. But there was God and there were angels and everything else involved. It was a whole like movie. So we learned about this program. It was called Freezing Nights, and it's up in North Washington. They do it during the winter time. Each church, there's a bunch of churches involved. They come and pick people up and they take them back to the church for the night so that they can sleep and eat, and they do games and just different things, family activities. Well, we ended up going there for a couple nights because the fuel pump had went out, and the people at the church, they were raising money and going to help us fix the fuel pump in the van. So we ended up getting the van fixed. But before that happened, this guy Matt came, and he said that him and his family had been wanting to help some people, and they had prayed about it and they wanted to help a family. And so they came in and found out about us, and we had my son, who was not even a year old yet. And so they let us move in at their house into an RV and stay there while the van got fixed, and also the front end of the van was all messed up. So my ex had went to a U-Pull and replaced everything on the front end, the bumper and all the fenders and everything. And then he sold the van, and we flew to Hawaii. We gave that guy Matt some money, and we still owe him some money. So Matt, if you're watching this, give me a call. Look me up on Facebook, Sarah. And I'm not going to say my last name on here, but yeah, I'll figure out how to connect the dots with everything. Yeah, his family really helped us out. They had a daughter, and she was a beautiful little girl, and she made Evan a cake for his first birthday, and they were just so wonderful. I just love those people. He was a firefighter, and they were just really rad. And so we flew to Hawaii, just like believing in the universe that we're going to go live in Hawaii, not knowing what's going to happen. I did have an income. My son is disabled, so we had disability, and I was getting state aid at the time. So we went out there, and it was beautiful. It was really beautiful. It was a wild ride, but we got a motel, and it was really beautiful. I remember showing up, and it was just so pretty. It was so far out there, and I never really knew, just imagining going to Hawaii and then actually going, how different it was. And it was just like, oh my gosh, it was a whole different world for me. I had culture shock. And but it was awesome at the same time. You could feel the life in all the plants and the flowers, and the air was so fresh, and all the people were just so rad and awesome. Like, it was really cool. Even though I take leaps of faith, when I'm in the middle of something that requires my faith and belief, a lot of times I start doubting stuff, and I get scared, and fear starts creeping in my mind as well. And so when we were in the hotel, my ex was calling on cars, and he was going to spend our last $300 on a car. And for me, my logical mind is thinking, I don't think this is going to work out. It said the key was broken off. It said the tag was expired out there. They have inspection tags out there that are colored. Hold on, my dog's barking. Okay. Betty, she's my baby girl. She's 2 years old, my daughter. She was knocked the phone off the bed too, so she's all nervous being in the bed right now. She doesn't want to knock it off, but we'll see how well everyone can focus. Hawaii was not what I expected, for sure. It was 8 lanes of traffic and just a ton of people, and it was really fast-paced. But what I was saying about the car is they have tags on the back that they do inspections, and this one had expired inspections. It was like a brown tag, and everyone else had yellow, but we had brown, so it really stuck out like a sore thumb, and it was a big tag. And they check everything out there on cars. Like, the hood has to be the right hood on there, and we had the wrong size hood, and just different things. So we did end up buying the car for $275 from this kid. It was his first car, and it had the key broken off inside of it. And so we got it, and I was very surprised. My ex and this guy that we met, we were looking for places to rent. And this guy, he was like total tinkerer, is what I'll call it. And he had just tools everywhere and stuff everywhere. I'm not exaggerating at all. It was like really a lot of things. And they said that they could make a new key for this car, and they ended up doing it. They filed a new key for the car, so the car was able to work. And then, It's very expensive in Hawaii. Anyone, if you say you're going to move to Hawaii, oh, it's so expensive. It's expensive. They want to shut down the idea. It's not going to work. No way. How are you going to do that? You can't. No, 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 no. So, anyway, we were there and we went and saw different places for rent, different parts of the island. And we went to this really, really nice I'm sorry, 2-story home that was just humongous. It had all these rooms and different people rented out the rooms. And we talked to the lady and she worked with us with putting the deposit into payments. So we paid the first month's rent and we moved in. And it seemed like such a blessing, but I'll tell you, when you put things in the universe and you wish for them and you want them to happen, I've learned you have to be very specific. And if you're willing to, um, be pleasantly surprised by the universe, you're also going to be pleasantly disappointed. And certain things are going to happen that are unexpected that you don't know. That's the thing about taking a leap of faith is you don't know what's going to happen all the time. But things good are going to happen, but that place was infested with cockroaches. And I could not hang with that. So we went back from Hawaii after being there for 6 weeks, actually. We just left the place. But my ex did get a job building houses out there, and we really did love our experience out in Hawaii at the time. It was just too much for me. I had a lot of anxiety having a baby, being away from my family, and just all of it, just being out there. I had a nightmare of being in a tsunami and different things. So, but the universe did provide the experience for me, and I've spoken a lot of things into existence. And I'm not going to keep you guys much longer, but I'll lead off with this that, my dad had a bus when I was a kid, and I always tried finding that bus. And 4 years ago, I believe, well, no, I think it was 3 years ago in 2021. I drove from California up to Washington, and I was just kind of thinking if I should get an RV or a bus, and I looked up the differences and wrote this school. It was a Christian school. And just everything lines up when the things are supposed to happen. Everything just starts lining up. They wrote me and said that they were having an auction the next day, but it ended up being like at the border of California. And so a friend of mine drove me there, and I bought a bus, and I felt like it was led by God, and I'm building that bus, and I want to help spread, testimonies and helping people heal and learning about the universe and having faith and believing in themselves and believing in the universe, that there's a lot of love out there wherever I've traveled to, and if I've had a time of struggle, there's always been somebody that has popped out and helped. And I almost never like try to like go up to somebody and ask them to help me, but I've had people just walk up and out of nowhere, and I'll give more accounts later, but I feel like this video is going too long, and in our society people have a short attention span. So I'll talk about angels among us at another time. But God bless you guys and have a good night. Know that if you have dreams out there, that there is abundance in the world. Don't live in the slavery of the system where you believe that you can't have the things that you want or your dreams can't be accomplished, because they can be. And don't let your negative thoughts stop you. All right, love you guys. Peace.